What's up, everybody? It's the Big Game Podcast. I am Chris Hunter, and I'm here with my guy, Daniel Horton. We'll be talking about Michigan basketball today, NCAA hoops, and a little bit of everything in between. And remember, if it's a big game, we're talking about it, man. We're going to break it down for you. Let's get it, man. How you doing today, Daniel?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself, big dog?
Doing good, man. I'm doing good, man. Ready to get into these topics today, man. We got some great stuff going on, man. How's your day been so far, man?
Good. Been studying some basketball, getting ready for this spring and summer. We got a pretty challenging schedule. Step up with my AAU organization.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What's the name of it, man? What's the name of the organization?
Promise Elite here in Georgia, and then I actually coached with another team during the summer in Texas called RBC. It's an organization that my brother and I started. My brother and I, one other guy, we started last summer, so we're early in the infancy stages of our program, and we're growing pretty fast. But the team here in Georgia is the one I've been coaching with the longest, and this group of kids I've been with the longest. So we're in our 9th grade summer now. So
big summer for these boys, man. It's time to improve a little bit, make a name for yourself.
Yes, sir. So the focus, we're always about winning, right? So, in junior high, 7th and 8th grade, it was about, developing the right habits, winning habits, developing the skill level as players, the IQ. That's always going to be the base of what we do. But now it's a little bit more about exposure. So we're playing on different circuits this year, OTR. We're going to play in a couple of May tournaments, which is a big step up in competition for us. We're also hopefully getting a couple of Puma tournaments as well. So it's going to be a challenging spring and summer for our boys, but I think they're ready for it. We have a lot of these kids that play for Grayson High School here in Georgia. So we got some talent.
That Grayson area is becoming like a athlete pro factory, man. They got all of the top ranked athletes across the board, out there.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that? Is that Gwinnett County out there? What's that?
Yeah, Gwinnett County.
Man.
Some talent out here, man. I think if they continue to build the infrastructure as far as the trainers and the quality of trainers, the times that the time and amount the gym is open and things of that nature, with the athletic talent and some of this natural ability they have out here in Atlanta is it'll become even more of a hotbed than it already is, especially Gwinnett County. So,
yeah, I mean that's the same thing everywhere, man. And here in Michigan, we're doing the same thing. I'm gearing up, my boys' team for at least CJ in his 7th grade season. Right now, they're going to be playing a little bit more of a national schedule in the spring, man. It's still, like you said, it's about development. It's about building the right habits. Mm-hmm. But it's that time to kind of, see if you can go out there and compete against some of the best talent across this region and across this area, man. I think it's a good opportunity for those guys. So we've been gearing up for that too, man. So I'm excited about that. We'll be doing, like both of our teams, we'll be doing a little fundraising coming up. Get these boys to and from these areas, man. It's becoming one of those things where you have to have some funds in place to kind of get these kids the type of development. And not necessarily, the exposure right now, especially at the 7th grade age, but put them in situations where they can challenge themselves and see all the things they've been working on from a day to day. So we're excited about it and, continue to work and push. And it's a fun time to be able to kind of give back to your kids in that way and be a part of their journey and development. So that's been fun. And we've had our group, like you said, we had our group for about 2 or 3 years now. So it's good to have a group that you can grow, build with and build relationships with these guys and help them, become young men.
Yes.
As well as basketball players. That's been the fun part about it. So we're excited, man. It's always a good time to talk some youth sports. We love that. But we had a really big game, and that's what we do on this podcast. We talk about big games for our Michigan Wolverines, man, coming off an overtime loss at Minnesota. They had Northwestern coming in here last Sunday in the afternoon game, and that's always a tough game to play. And ultimately was in another overtime game, was able to pull that one out, man. So we're going to dive into this Northwestern game and a little review and give our thoughts about it, man. What's your initial thoughts just watching that game and seeing how our Wolverines kind of bounced back and was able to ultimately get that win in OT? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they showed a level of toughness and grit. I think that served them well moving forward, right? Tough to play Sunday afternoon, especially coming off a heartbreaking loss to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Buzzer, right? So you got to kind of like rev the engines back up and not allow that game to beat you twice, right? So they came out and they fought hard, and it was they still have some things I think they need to improve defensively, right? But I think for the most part, they're still on track to do some of the things that we talked about, a couple episodes ago, where a little bit of cleanup, man, this team can go to a whole nother level. When you look at their efficiency ratings, when you look at all the advanced metrics, they have the advanced metrics of an elite team, right?
Yeah.
And in a lot of the important areas. So I think with a little bit of cleanup in some areas, man, they can build on this bounce back win they got against Northwestern.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think it was a hard fought, tough victory. I think anytime you come in and you play Northwestern, one thing they're going to do that I think that really helped them stay into the game is they're going to play late into the shot clock consistently. Yeah. And what that does is shorten the game, shorten those possessions. They are comfortable with shooting the ball with under 6 seconds, under 5 seconds on the shot clock, and living with those results to ultimately give the opponent, less times they can come down and score on you. So they did a good job of, sticking to their game plan, shortening in the game, making some key plays. And then they had their backcourt really in that first half did some really good stuff. And we're going to get into it, as you can see on the film with some of our defensive coverages, especially in pick and roll and going under ball screens and giving guys like Jordan Leach some opportunities to hurt us a little bit. We'll get into that, but I think Northwestern did a good job, and then they're always well coached by Chris Collins, and they're going to play hard. They're going to play physical. And Barnheiser and Martinelli, our guys who've been in the program for a long time, not the highest of touted and talented of guys, but they work hard and they develop their games, and they're really, really effective Big Ten players and tough-nosed players. So it's always a tough game when you play against Northwestern, and we were able to clean up some stuff. And like you said, I think there's some areas where we need to grow. Our big fellas and Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf are leading the way. I think Trey and Amari had solid games, but I think overall our backcourt needs to step up and give us some more consistent shot creation and shot making on that perimeter for us to reach the heights that we can, man. But all in all, I think it was a hard fought. Good to see those guys kind of make some adjustments down the stretch in overtime and pull that game out the way they needed to.
No, I think you're absolutely right, especially regarding Northwestern, right? It seems like no matter who's the coach, whether it's Chris Collins or Bill Carmody back when we were today, they force you to kind of play their style of play, right? Whether it was the Princeton, eating the clock up back then, or it's Chris Collins and what they do now. They kind of force you. They've been really good at over years forcing teams to play their style of play. Like you may come in with this idea of having 80 to 100 possessions, but it's kind of tough against these guys. Like you said, the way they play offense, and then they're good enough defensively to make you play deep into the shot clock as well.
Yeah, they're gonna make you work.
They're gonna make you work, and they're gonna be physical. They're gonna deny passes. So I think they, they gave a good effort. I think when Leach got, I think a big inflection point in games when Leach was ejected from the game, right? And we're going to talk about that as we show these clips, that the ball screen coverage against him was really, really hurting us. And I think, like I said, as we get into this film, we'll dissect that, and hopefully we can make some improvements going forward.
Yeah, hopefully we can make some improvements, and we'll talk about, conceptually what Michigan is trying to do. And then you would talk about execution. Like, are we executing it the way that we're conceptually trying to get things done defensively, especially in that ball screen? So let's dive into it, man. Let's jump into these Northwestern clips that you got, man. I'll get it on the screen for us, and we'll jump into it from there. Let's go.
Yeah, so this is early in the game. We talked about previously on previous episodes about how much I like Danny Wolf in this position. I think he's more effective in the mid post. He can still make passes. He can still do a lot of things he likes to do with the ball in his hands. But He also has a quick spin. He can go middle. It's just at his size, man, that's a very effective spot for him, so where he can do everything that you need him to do as a big, anything that he wants to do as well. So get him in the mid post early in the game. Draws two, right? Look, just one-handed pass out the double team. Now, this is where, if his fundamentals are a little tighter, like his fundamentals will be a little tighter, right? But he makes a good pass. Boom. Vlad knocked down his first three. Well, I think Vlad is, 9 for 16 on the year right now from three, if I believe. He shoots.
Yeah. I think it's about 9 for 14, 9 for 15 with those extra makes that he had last week. So, yeah, I mean, he's shooting the ball well. He's shooting good shots, step-in shots. He's not hunting them, but he's shooting the appropriate three-point shots when he gets the opportunity. So it's good to see him be able to stretch his range, and that's another thing a defense has to worry about, man, is him stepping into threes and being able to knock them down consistently.
Yeah, we got another player right here. You see Jones in the ball screen. I like this from Jones. He tries to use it once. We twist it. Doesn't have everything. He's probing. All right, big man cuts him off. He throws back. He's ready to get into his next action, right? His next trigger or his next action. And Vlad is into another three. Told you about that wrist flick, Chris. You saw it?
That's a nice wrist flick, man. He got his feet stepped into it, and you make one. Let's shoot another one, man, with a late contest from the big fella on Northwestern. It's a good shot for him.
Yeah, we see another hit right here. Vlad, who I think has established himself as maybe the front runner or one of the top guys for Big Ten Player of the Year right now with the way he's playing, with Michigan being 5-1 and 6-1 in conference, and him averaging 25 plus in Big Ten games. I think he's definitely in the conversation with plays and the timely plays he's making.
Right? Yeah, if it ended today, he would be the Big Ten Player of the Year for sure.
Right. He's in the conversation.
Yeah, he's in that conversation for sure.
Big time tip in off the missed bucket, right? I didn't want to make the clip super longer, but just I wanted to emphasize the timing of the plays he's making in the game, right? 61, 2 minutes left in the game. He's being big and physical to carve out space down there off a missed shot. Easy putback, right? Check the score again, 69-67 in OT. 2 minutes and 56 left in the game, 16 seconds on the shot clock. Then he gets there in the middle of their flow. They eventually get it to him with his back to the basket. Quick hook over his left shoulder.
And that's a great play. The big fella being able to catch it, turn with the pass, and shoot it with touch from about 8 to 9 feet away from the rim is great. And they had him, Danny Wolf had him sealing early. Should have got him early, but the play continues to run. And he does what a big is supposed to do. Like he's open now.
Yeah, he's open now.
Especially once we get that corner cleared out to give a passing angle. But he's working, he's sealing, he's doing what a big guy's supposed to do down there and work for position. You let that play.
Ideally, he gets it right there, right?
Yeah, but you got Martinelli is in the passing lane, so he can't get it to him. So if that spacing was there, and you had who is that? Is that Trey Jones? I mean, not Trey Jones.
That's Donaldson.
Is that Trey Donaldson? I'm talking about.
If he gets to the corner or gets out, he's kind of in that right-handed passing lane right there.
Yeah, so right now he don't have a lane to throw it, but he's working. Yeah. But initially he didn't see it because that spacing wasn't great. But he continues to work, like you said, in their flow, diving to the rim. Now he's seeking his body, seal him again. Now you get Trey clearing out to give that angle, and he's turning right into that pass off the hop with 2 feet is a really good play. And to make that straight in with no backboard is a great, great play from him.
Yeah, those are definitely some key moments in the game where Vlad was able to either get us jump started like he did early in the game with the threes, and then kind of carry us through the late stages of the game and of regulation and overtime. So another big performance by Bad Vlad.
Bad Vlad leading the way, man. Like you say, throughout. He got us started early and critical key buckets down the stretch to either keep us in the game or put us up a couple possessions. So the big fellas are leading the way, man, in a major way for Michigan basketball.
Sure. I think that'll kind of lead us into our the next part of this discussion, right? The things that Northwestern kind of did well against Michigan to give themselves a chance to win the game that can kind of affect Michigan going forward, right? Like you're going to see some pretty decent, some pretty good guards, really good guard tomorrow in Braden Smith. And the way they guarded the pick and roll is a bit of an issue for them this game, right? And I don't want to challenge philosophically. We'll talk about what they're doing philosophically, but we'll try to see if it's more, more execution or if they might want to look at maybe changing something. So we'll get into it here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for Michigan, they've been this season traditionally a drop coverage on the pick and roll. So that means our big is not up to the line of the screen. He's not hedging. He's not blitzing. He's back and he's protecting from the drive and the dive of the big fella who's screening and rolling. So, I mean, that's one of those covers where you try to force a team to shoot either mid-range jumpers, or you try to force him to make a play to the big, and then in turn, when you're in a drop coverage, you give your weak side defenders an opportunity to kind of stay home a little bit closer to their men. Because really in the drop coverage, it's a 2v2 coverage. You got the two guys in the pick and roll, and then you got the two guys who are defending the pick and roll who are most responsible for that action. So, depending on how you execute it, it can vary. Sometimes you can have that drop a little closer to the screener, and you're not as deep back. And that's something that I think that Michigan may want to look into, especially when you look at the history of kind of the games that they lost and the guards they played against. In Arkansas, they had guys, Wake Forest with Hunter Salas. So all of those games.
Minnesota, their guards kind of exploited the drop coverage a little bit too.
They exploited the drop coverage and they got a rhythm and really kind of hurt Michigan with their
I think Mike Matthews had a career night that night.
For sure.
Yeah. But no, it's one of those things where, I understand like the idea behind it is we want to make you shoot twos, right? And not give up open looks on the perimeter. But I think where you kind of get into trouble, not just Michigan, but all teams who run drop coverage when you play against, the not even upper echelon, but above average guards and big men can really exploit this defense. And then it becomes, okay, now we're giving up, we may not be giving up many threes, but we're giving up a ton of points in the paint. And I think with human nature, the way it works, eventually you're going to start helping and giving up some things on the perimeter, right? Because nobody's going to sit back and just continue to get bludgeoned in the paint. And I think that's a worry for me as a coach, when I'm trying to figure out what coverage to run, ball screen coverage, right? That's always my worry against drop coverage. You're going to give up a lot of open looks to really good guards if you sometimes. So we'll get into some of those things Jalen Leach exploited right here.
And we also had some unders too. We had drop coverage and we were going under the ball screen, which was probably a game plan specific thing too, looking at the percentages of Northwestern's 3-point shooters coming into the game. So you want to play those percentages and kind of maybe force those guys to take some tough contested threes at low percentages. But it's a game-to-game thing that you got to, like you said, either execute better or change your philosophy or your game plan from game to game on how you're going to guard those guys. So
it's a two-part deal. It's not just the big guy, right? It's the guard being physical on the ball and chasing the guy hard over the top of the screen, right? You kind of have to, I don't want to say destroy the ball. You don't want to foul a guy, but you definitely have to be physical at the point of attack if you're guarding the ball. Right, if you let this guy just come off clean like we see some of these times, it doesn't matter what the big guy does. You got to chase him. So let's get into that. We got pushing up, a little slow break. Quick drag screen right here. No real ball pressure, no real intensity on the ball.
And that's what you talk about. You can go back to that. And that's one of the things that as a big guy, and when you're talking about Danny Wolf in particular guarding perimeter players, and he's guarding 1 through 4, and typically they're switching 1 through 4. He's in a position right now where he's trying to keep his defensive leverage, which is I don't want to get too close because I'm guarding a smaller guy.
Yeah,
I want to keep my distance and be able to use my length to be able to challenge. But when you're navigating actions, especially like a ball screen, like you said, that's where you need to get into the ball, and that ball handler needs to feel some pressure. And we always call that bullying into the ball. So I want to be a bully, getting over the screen, put pressure on that ball handler. And right now he's kind of getting caught in no man's land where he can't really bully into that ball, and he's just a target for getting screened. And now he kind of screens and butt rolls into it. Now he's stepping into a rhythm three, like you said, in transition, and he knocks that down.
Yeah, and that's not a, for the fans watching, for the people watching, that's not a tough shot.
No, that's something you walk in the gym and you do before you even start stretching, right? Just step into the top of the key and shoot a three.
Yeah. So, all right, we get here, right? Clip starts a little fast, right? It's Namari this time, right? He goes under the first one, which he should. He's out of the scoring area.
Out of the scoring area.
Right. He goes under the first one, and they twist it and come back and, rescreen the second time. So now I think I don't want to analyze what he should have done, right? But I think he's still like you said, given the percentage of he's still in an area where he can go under here. But he chooses to go to the top because that's the coverage there in the drop coverage. Guard now he's able to turn the corner because of the angle Namari came off the screen, right? He had to come up and over. So now the guard is able to run him off closer. Now he's able to get downhill. Once again, that's not, for the fans out there, for the people watching, that's not a tough shot. No matter what the commentator says, that's not a tough shot, right? Again, into a little screen. The screener actually fakes the flex. So he fakes the flex here to cause the guy to be late, right? You want Trey to think that he has to help on this flex cut right here, right? But he sprints off the pin down from the guy in the alley. It's caught in our coverage where we're switching. Michigan, we switch everything, right? So they do a good job of switching it. But once again, if you're gonna stay going under.
Yeah, and if you're Danny Wolf, you got to chew. You can't be playing peekaboo behind that screen, right? And that's one of the things as Danny Wolf progresses, and he's in this new role this season, as far as being a guy who's a versatile, offensive player, but also he's being called upon to be a versatile defensive player, like you say, switching 1 through 4. So that's one of those. You can't be playing peekaboo behind that screen once you switch out. You got to switch out, either get to that offensive player's hip, and now you either cause that guy to go over the screen, or you can whip under it at the last minute. But if I'm standing behind the screen and I'm playing peekaboo, trying to figure out which side he's coming off the screen, then that puts our defense in a bad position.
I think if he sits down, like you said, makes him use the screen on one side and kind of walls him off, and his size, there's no throwback really. There's no, and especially if Danny's on his hip, there's really, like, how can you? I haven't seen too many guards be able to keep him in jail or hold off a 7-5. They're not really in that position much. So it'll be interesting to see how, I think he can really, if he sits down and guards, he can really destroy and destruct a lot of those ball screen situations with his size and length. But yeah, now he can't play peekaboo.
Peekaboo. And now, he's in rhythm now. He's hit a couple of them in the first half, had a really nice first half. And coming out in the second half, he's in rhythm and he knocks that shot down.
Yeah. No, and that's so I think that is one of the areas they need to clean away. We talked about the turnovers before previously, but I think the ball screen coverage is something they really need to either. Right there, it's not really a philosophical thing, right? It's more of an execution thing, right? The guys that are involved in the ball screen need to be a little bit tougher on the ball and really force him to push him into the screen and make him, push him down into the drop guy. So I think as we with the challenge that they face tomorrow against Purdue, that's something that they're going to see again with Braden Smith, right? He's a big time guard. I think we're going to get into that's what we're going to get into next.
Yeah, for sure. We'll and it segues us perfectly into previewing for Purdue.
Yeah.
When you think about game planning for them, the head of the snake is Braden Smith. Man, he's averaging a lot of points and a lot of assists. Right now, he's averaging over 8 assists on the season. So he's the head of the snake. And you think about Trey Kaufman-Wren as their pick and roller. He's good in the post. He's good in the short roll. He's good at finishing out of those actions with either Braden Smith or Lawyer. So that's going to be a good segue into what we kind of preview right now with Purdue. All right. So I'll put some film up here on this Purdue drop coverage right now. So this first possession, and I'll take it back. You can see just a high pick and roll, middle ball screen. Got Braden Smith with the ball and Trey Kaufman-Wren on this screen here. And as he comes off of it, boom, you stop it right here. Oregon is in drop coverage. It's going to be similar to what I think Michigan is going to play and what we've traditionally played this year, this drop coverage. And it's tough because Braden Smith is good at either keeping guys in jail, playing with good pace. He's good at making his pocket pass, and he's also good at if that big man retreats away, the defensive big man retreats away and go back to his offensive guy, he's good at making these mid-range shots as well in this. So if you see he's coming off of this one, he's probing, he get that guy in jail. Yeah. Now he's coming up, he's taking a step back shot, and he's pulling up, and he's making that at a very, very high percentage. All right, here's another possession right here, and this is what we call either a double drag screen or angle. You know, a lot of people have a lot of numbers for it. You call it a 77 because you got two guys up there. You call it a 99, but it's a double ball screen. And what makes this unique is the first screener in it is a two-man, is a shooter, right? So typically you have two bigs up here setting this screen, but now you got Lawyer, who's a shooter, who can drive it, and Caleb First, who's cleaning up the back end of the screen. So they're coming off this. He does a good job of what we talked about earlier, right? And I'm talking about our defensive guy here at really getting into the ball and bullying over the screen, right? So now there's no real advantage created on this. He's bullied over the screen. He's still in Braden Smith hip pocket, and he's coming off. Now you got the secondary screen coming and Caleb First cleaning it up. And this is drop coverage again on this, right? You got the Oregon big fella right here who's way back on the screen, giving this guy a whole lot of area to be able to navigate and make a play. All right, they do a good job again of number 9 bullying over that screen, that second screen, and staying on his hip. Good help from the corner. Because you have a non-shooter over here and Trey Kaufman-Wren, a non-shooter in the corner. So typically you don't want to help off a strong side corner, but game plan specific, you got a non-shooting big man over here, so we'll take that. We'll get the ball out of Smith's hand. But this is where they're really good, Purdue, at. If you take away that initial action, they like throwing it to that big, getting it back, and now we're playing a secondary ball screen off a handoff or off a pitch, and now he's back into that action again where he's hitting this guy in the pocket. And Kaufman-Wren has been really good at this little short flip shot in the pocket from 10 to 12 feet, and he knocks it in. All right, another ball screen action right here. Middle third ball screen. You got another drop coverage. This time he does a good job of getting downhill, hitting Kaufman-Wren in the pocket. He keeps his feet. Now he has some leverage on that defensive guy, and he does a great job of going downhill and finishing that play. All right. Run it back slightly so you can see this is another middle ball screen with drop coverage. Ball screen happens, drop coverage. Get a piece of that defensive guy. He's coming downhill, reads the play, and he's great. And now if that's not there, I got Lawyer coming right back to the top. This is a shooter. He's catching this guy on the closeout. Now he's playing this guy off a closeout. He drives downhill, keeps his feet, and he's dropping off to a big guy. So these guys
Rewind. I think that's where Michigan can kind of use their length and size to kind of affect Smith, because he gets himself in awkward angles to pass sometimes. He's a great passer, right? So if you rewind it, he couldn't really hit the big guy on the roll. Although he was open, you see, watch what Oregon's guys do. Hands, feet. Keep
active hands, active feet, right?
Yeah.
Can't get it to him.
Can't get it to him long enough to rotate. So I think if Michigan, with their size, man, especially with 2 7-footers out there, if they're active in his vision and in the passing lanes, I think they'll be able to discourage some of that. But that's a nice drive and a drop off by Lawyer.
All right, same thing. Another middle third with Kaufman-Wren and Braden Smith. Man, he's deadly. He's murdering these positions. Now he's coming off a great pace. Again, that Chris Paul sidestep jumper. Like he can beat you with that. He's a guy who can beat you with that. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's another action that I really like with Purdue, and they use this a lot more when they had guys like Jaden Ivey, because he had so much speed in this position. So if you see Braden Smith at the bottom of the screen, it's this awkward angle where you got this double pin down to a dribble handoff. All right. So if this is Michigan and we're switching everything, this might end up with Danny Wolf, who's guarding right here, number 23, Heidi, who's playing the 4 right now, and he might be switching out on Smith, so we'll see how they guard this action. But another great action for Braden Smith to come off with some leverage. Trey Kaufman-Renn diving, and now we're making a play out of this. He's really good at either seeing that dive man or making this pull-up jumper. And like I said, he can beat you off of these mid-range pull-up jumpers. All right, and here's another
thing Matt Painter's also been good at, as far as, like you said, over the years, running that zoom action from different angles, right? That was a pin down into a zoom, and he was able to get downhill and make a nice play. I like his little change of rewind a little bit. I like his little change of pace between the legs dribble right here. That's nice right there.
Yeah, I mean, he got the full package for a guy. You look like it. He got the dusty beard and the hair, but he's got the full package of a high level guard, man. And he comes out and displays it. He gets downhill, and what he does great, and what Purdue is really good at is driving, and these big guys sealing on the drive, right? So at the end of the drive, Braden Smith, he keeps his feet, and watch this position that he's in right now. So if you guys watch this game, you're going to see this where he gets downhill and he raises the ball over his head, either the shot fake, and he's going to drop that pocket pass down to the defender. We got a clip coming up to show you that. Or in this possession, he keeps his feet, pivots again. Kaufman-Renn is down there sealing for battling for position. What you call 3 seconds? No, not 3 seconds yet. He drops it right in, and then he's putting it right up before that 3-second call. So they do a great job of what I call, driving and posting on the seal. All right, and here's some of their more recent game with Ohio State that they lost, right? So similar action against a different opponent. Same thing, you get in this drop coverage. Braden Smith is coming off. Now you see that same position where he's putting the ball over his head like he's shot faking to shoot it. And now he's dropping this beautiful, I would say, beautiful pocket pass right down the lane on the money to Trey Kaufman-Renn, who finishes that. And like I said, Braden Smith can beat you in a lot of areas, right? So here's another action, same. It ends up in the same thing, right? But if you can see where it starts, now you got this, what we call chin cut or back screen, where this guy is screening this diving wing player who's going to the rim to try to get the guy who's guarding the screener to step his feet back a little bit to create a little separation when Kaufman-Renn runs up to set this ball screen on Braden Smith. But another great action, ends up in this high ball screen. Now, they reject it. They do a good job of trying to weak that screen, keep them away from the screen. But they do a good job of, like I said before, if the player's not there, we're going to throw it to our big guy. We're going to come back off that screen, and we're playing. And both of these guys, and Lawyer and Braden Smith, can beat you with these short-range pull-up jumpers off the dribble. They do a really good job.
That's been a common action in basketball, period, that chasing action where you hit the big. That chase action is with guys like Braden Smith, like you said, Jaden Ivey previously. That's a dangerous action, especially when you're undisciplined and you ball facing Ohio State guys in the air. Now you're actually chasing them now.
You're actually chasing, and he make it tough because he has the ability to make those shots. So you got to have some reaction to it, and that's the tough guard on this one. And this is another way he rejects this ball screen, right? What I mean by rejecting it, instead of coming off in the direction that they're trying to make you come off to the middle, he rejects it, goes baseline, and this is Kaufman-Renn in the pocket again, and he's really deadly at these short flip shots off the glass. That's an and one with great touch on those plays. All right, here we got one more play. They get it out. They get into it from various different alignments, various different actions to start it, but it's going to end up in that same high middle ball screen where this guy's coming off, and now Braden Smith is playing. You see it again. That ball goes up above his head. Now he's throwing. Chase it. And now we're doing it again. Ball above my head, and I'm dropping that. I don't even know what you call that, man. It's not what type of pass? Is that a rugby pass? Is that a soccer pass?
Right to it.
and dropping it off, and they play out of that action. I think we got one more clip here to show you guys on this. So same kind of chin back screen action. And now you can really see this guy who's guarding Kaufman Wren on the ball screener had to step back to protect from this back screen. So he's really disconnected from this ball screen action, which forces another deep drop position for him. Okay. Braden Smith comes off of it. Good screen, creates an advantage. This Ohio State defender, his feet is at the free throw line, which is very, very far back on the drop. All right. He's probing, hits him in the pocket on the money. And Kaufman Wren is good with, like I said, those little short 10 to 12 foot flip shots going to the rim. And this is something that when you think about Purdue, that Michigan is going to have to prepare for, right? If we continue to give them that same look on the drop coverage, I think Braden Smith and Laurier will have, success because they're really good, like I said, at making those plays with the pass to the big fellas. And as well as those guys are really proficient at shooting that mid-range shot off the move, off the dribble. So I think anytime you play guards like this who are good, you got to mix up coverages, man. Like with you, as a PG, if somebody guarded you the same way every time, you start, feeling that rhythm, get comfortable with that, and you start making them pay about that. But I think, for Michigan, we need to switch those coverages up, some drop, we need some blitzes, we need some switches, we need all of those things to kind of keep those guys off guard in those positions.
I think the combination of Donaldson and Jones will be a really good change of pace to guard a guy like Smith if he's able to kind of get in his hip pocket and use his length and athleticism, and then be able to square.
6'5", yeah, he's 6'5", strong, athletic.
So this is a game that I think Jones can really. He made a couple of shots. I think this is a game where he can really carve out a significant role for himself if he can come in and continue to make shots from the perimeter and do a good job on a guy like Braden Smith, right? It's a challenge that I think the guards for Michigan are going to be ready for. I think mentally, the way approach matchups so far this season, they understand what's going on, right? So I think they're going to, approach this game tomorrow a little different and really accept a challenge to shut this kid down. I'm not saying they're going to shut him down, but I think from what I see from Donaldson and Jones and Crow, I think they'll look forward to their relish the opportunity to play against them. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and another thing you got to do with them dudes, you got to go at them offensively, right? So you got to make Smith, you got to make Laurier guard. And that's what most teams do. They try to put them in the action and make those guys guard actions too. So you got to attack those guys on the offensive end just as much as they want to attack you on the defensive end with them offensively. And I think we have a group right now that I think that their best attribute so far has been their ability to defend and be scrappy. With Roddy Gale, and like you said, Amari Burnett is a veteran. He's doing everything right out there on the court as far as defensively and offensively. So this is a game where all of those guys are going to step up, and everybody should get a piece of Smith and Laurier and be able to disrupt them as much as they can. It's always a tough environment going into Mackey. They're coming off a loss, so they're going to be chomping at the bit. They're going to be ready to go. It's going to be rocking. So it's going to be a fun game to see. First, how we game plan. Are we going to have multiple coverages for their ball screen actions? And then offensively, how can we exploit Purdue on the defensive end and really attack those guys? Because I think that those are some advantages there, as well as our big guys leading the way. I think Vlad has been very good at taking what the defense gives you, being aggressive, either on the inside or the outside. And then Danny Wolf, can he have one of those super duper impactful games with scoring the ball and creating offense for us?
On the road, you know how it goes, right? And especially in this league, somebody's gonna have to be the one to get you out of there. It's gonna take good performances from everybody, right? But I'm interested to see if it's gonna be Vlad again or is somebody else gonna step up and get us out of there and get the duck. It's gonna be a close game, right? I think the majority of the games that Michigan's going to play to finish this season, right, are going to be 1, 2, 3 possession games where it can go either way at some point, based on the parity in this league. The top heaviness to where I think the top 7 or 8 teams are very similar, right?
Yeah.
The records are different, but I think with the way that these teams are constructed. That's why you can see it's, Michigan go on the road to last place Minnesota and lose, right? Like there's not a huge difference between the top of the league and the bottom of the league. So they're going to play a lot of close games, and it's going to be determined by, like I said, how they execute and how guys step up in big moments. And so I think we can kind of segue into some of the things that we can do offensively to exploit Purdue's defense. So we'll get into that. I'll show my screen again. There you go. I think it's passage of Jalen clip. All right, so we got right here, right? What's Coach made known for, right? The Spain action that has become very popular in college basketball these days. And we see Ohio State right here, end of out of timeout, end of half situation. They're able to get into their Spain action and get a good look. And I think this is something that Dusty has in his bag in spades, right? We've seen Michigan run the Spain action from different angles, right? We've seen Dusty call from different angles, when he was at FAU. So I think that might be something they look to exploit, right? Another thing they might look to exploit, right? Braden Smith, just pushing in transition, pushing the pace. That's one of the things that we've done well this year. We've done well at pushing the pace and creating possession. I think Purdue wants to push the pace a little bit as well, so that might play right into our hands. So if we're able to get stops and able to, get the ball off the rim or force turnovers, we'll be able to get out and run against these guys. Like I said, these guys are good offensive players, but I think we can really attack them in transition as well as in the half court.
Hey, you got to make them dudes work, man. You got to put the pressure on them. You got to run strategically like we do. We like to play like we like to play and push the pace. But that's a great example of just pushing the pace, kicking it up for an open three. I can see Namari Burnett in that corner making that same three, man. And this was happening. And this is really the cardinal rule of that. You miss a layup on one end, it's probably going to be a layup or three on the other end. So if we can, like you say, close out possessions with rebounds and push that ball, yeah, that'll be Namari Burnett making a bunch of corner threes in Mackey Arena coming up.
Yep, and this is just a clip. It's a 59-55 game here, close game, 5:14 left. And they're just, slow push, secondary push, and they're into some of their triggers and their actions and their flow, which is kind of similar to what Michigan does, right? This is not anything set. This is just the Florida offense. They're able to get a good look and knock it down. We've seen Michigan have games where hitting 19 threes, 10 plus threes. So I think the 3-point shooting and their ability to stretch and attack Ohio State, those two guards specifically off the dribble, I think that'll give us give us a good chance to not only win the game, but play some good offense, get some good looks, and I don't anticipate this being some of the previous trips I've seen. This is not the same Purdue team we've seen from previous years that was Zach Edey and they were a monster on both ends of the floor. I think this Purdue team can be had on the defensive end if we execute and push the pace like we normally do.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We're going to present them as many matchup challenges and problems as they will present us on that defensive end. And you got to do a good job of taking care of the ball in Mackey, right? Because if you turn that ball over consecutively, that the crowd gets into it and the roof is about to blow off the arena. So you got to be able to take care of the ball because Purdue is going to take care of it. They're averaging 10 or less turnovers for the year, and that puts them in the top 15, top 20 in the country in turnovers per game. So you got to be able to do that, and then you got to be able to make some shots too. I don't see us going into Mackey and making 3 or 4 threes in the game and winning that game. That's going to be a tough game. So you got to be able to create those open threes and knock those down. But like you said, it's going to be a very, very good matchup against two very, very well coached teams and two teams who are vying for positioning for a Big Ten championship. And, Purdue is coming off a loss, so they're going to be chomping at the bit to right that ship, especially at home.
Yep, I agree.
Especially at home. All right, man. Well, let's get into a different topic, man. There's been a lot of things in the news. And I would say when we're talking about college basketball, man, I think when you talk about coaches and you're talking about their antics on the sideline, you're talking about what coaches are able to get away with, what some coaches are not able to get away with, and some of those antics on the sideline. I think what's been in the news a lot, man, has been Dan Hurley's antics on the sideline, starting with in Maui, where he had some situations where he got into it with refs and kicked out a game, and they lost some early games, which probably surprised some people. And then more recently, just his antics in general. He's a fiery coach. He's a guy who gets after his player, gets after his team.
You're doing it. You're doing the same thing that the media does. You're doing it. He's a fiery coach, man. Just go ahead. I'll let you finish it. I'm gonna go. You go and I'm gonna go.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just setting it up. I was just setting it up. But yeah, I mean, he's more recently, he has a video out where he's getting after a referee and basically said, "Hey, don't you turn your back on me. I'm the best effing coach in college basketball. Don't you turn your back on me." So, just what's your thoughts on you? Let's get into it.
That's ridiculous, man. Like, without being too controversial, right? Because that's not what this
be controversial.
About, right?
Speak your mind.
Right. I think that certain guys are allowed to do certain things based on their reputation, based on, I think in Dan Hurley's case, I think a bit of what his last name is, not just on the success he's had, right? Because there were these, he was this way before he won 2 national championships, right? It's just amplified more because he's been in the limelight more as they won more. But he has like that's completely disrespectful to an official. No one cares if you're the best. Like, you don't get special treatment because you're the best, considered the best coach in the country, or you had the most success recently, right? For you to say that implies a level of like privilege, a level of entitlement that you expect because of whatever you look at yourself as a basketball coach, whatever you think you're viewed as in this industry, in this sport. And I got respect for you, right? He's a damn good coach, right? He's earned the respect that people give him as far as his basketball acumen. But that does not give you the right to be disrespectful to the officials, to carry, like you see him carry him a certain way before the game. Like, I've seen stuff where UConn is coming to the arena, he got his little bop on more than the players do. Like, relax, coach. Like, you're a damn good coach, man. You come from a great basketball family, but that does not give you the right to be an asshole. So that's just my opinion.
That's your opinion. No, I agree with you. I think some of the antics are over the top, man. Like, it gets to a point where you be like, "Come on, coach," because most of the time you think of a play, you be like, "Dang, coach, like you're trying to fire your team up. You're trying to put some type of energy into them." But most of the time, when your coach is acting like that, and people have to like reel him back in on something, it gives your own team anxiety, right? You're not focused on what you should be focused on. You're focused on trying to reel your coach back in and try to get back into a level-headedness that you can be successful. So for him, man, it's that's his personality. Like you say, some coaches get away with things because that's what they do all the time. They can push that envelope, almost like Draymond Green. You look at him and how he deals with the refs. It's like, damn, if somebody else did all of the talking, barking that he does with the refs, they'll be thrown out the game. But because it's him, he gets a longer leash on kind of acting a fool and confronting referees. So I think it's that similar situation with Dan Hurley, where guys know he can fly off the handle. He's been overly demonstrative on the sidelines, whether valid or unvalid. And, it just needs to, in my opinion, calm down a little bit.
Yeah. And it's kind of similar to the situation with Coach Izzo, right? Like, people have, like, it kind of takes away from your greatness as a coach when, like, right now it may not, because you're fresh off winning back-to-back national championships, but say you don't win for a while, right? But the antics keep up. Now you become known just as much for your sideline demeanor as you do for how great of a coach you are.
Yeah.
And like, at the end of the day, he probably doesn't care. I'm pretty sure he doesn't care what anybody says, right? But at the same time, like just as a fan of the sport, as a guy who aspires to reach the level that Dan Hurley has reached as a coach, I really don't think I would be allowed to behave that way. Or I wouldn't even make it that far if I behaved that way on a consistent basis on the sideline, right? No matter how much
you'd be up out of there. You wouldn't get no job.
Right? No matter how much I won or how much, the people close to me, that's just whatever. Like you don't really get those opportunities to do those, to behave that way unless you come from a certain background, and he has that background. Come from a great basketball family. He's won. So it's some people are willing to overlook things as long as I think it's as long as the juice is worth the squeeze, right?
Yeah, juice got to be.
If they weren't winning, if he wasn't as great of a coach as he is, then it would probably be more scrutinized.
For sure. Well, man, that's I think that sums it up and wraps it up for us on this show, man. I think that's got some great conversation, great review of Northwestern, a really, really good preview of how we can attack and what Purdue is going to do against us. So it's going to be a really fun game, man. And like I said before at the beginning, man, if it's a big game, we're going to be talking about it and breaking it down on the Big Game Podcast. So again, man, with my co-host, Daniel Horton, I am Chris Hunter. We will see you guys next time, man. Remember to like and subscribe, man. If you like something, subscribe. Hit the comments. Daniel reads the comments. He'll be all in them comments. I'll be in the comments too. If you want to see more content about different things, see us talk about different topics, man, make sure you like and subscribe and get in them comments, man. Until next time, this is the Big Game Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Peace.